Mondeos. Don't you just love them? Well, actually, clearly not enough, because you stopped buying them, and production of the Mondeo as we know it, well, that ceased in March 2022, albeit a fifth generation does continue. I think it's made for the Chinese market, and it survives still also as the Ford Taurus in the Middle East. But I'm not here to talk about that today. Today's video, well, it's a short video and it's a celebration video, a celebration of the hot Mondeos. Those Mondeos that would meet the threshold to be classified as the much coveted fast Ford. Now, I think it's fair to say that, well, you might be struggling to call to mind the list of Mondeos that would be considered fast Mondeos. And that's because, unlike its predecessors, like the Cortina with the Lotus Cortina, or the Sierra with its extravagant and brash Sierra RS Cosworth, or the XR4i, the Mondeo went about things, well, a little more subtly, with a bit more decorum, a bit more elegance, a bit more class. Right now you can be forgiven for, well, I suppose outside of the couple of ST models that sit in the Mondeo's lineage, actually struggling to pick out where the hot Mondeos are, but they are there if you look closely enough. And in this video, well, I'm going to call them out, and I'm going to share with you my thoughts on these cars, share with you how rapid these big family Fords actually are, and at the end, I'll tell you, based on my experience of owning a few and driving a few of these, well, I'll tell you which one I think is best. Now, please don't forget to click like on this video, it really helps. Do subscribe to the channel for lots more content like this, but most importantly, let me know your thoughts on the Mondeo in the comments section below. Do you agree with me? Have I picked out the hot Mondeos? Have I missed some? And do you agree with which one at the very end I think is best? I'm sure some of you will, I'm sure many of you won't. Stay tuned and let's run through hot Mondeos. Right then, first of all, let me tell you about these, one of which is definitely a fast Mondeo, and the other one, well, we'll find out later in this video. Does this car cut it as a hot Mondeo? If you've been watching my channel for a while, well, then you'll be familiar with this car. This is my Ford Mondeo Titanium X 2.5 5-cylinder turbo, and boy, isn't it quick. Now, you'll know this car because around a year or so ago, well, I did a full video, a full feature on this car, and it really is a brilliant Mondeo. So please do, if you haven't seen it, take a look. I'll leave the link to that video in the description box below. And also in that video, well, I tell the Mondeo story, so I'm not going to get stuck into that today. Instead, in this video, we're going to stick to celebrating fast Mondeos. Now, what about this other Mondeo? And to be honest, this one is a bit of an oddity. Sure, it's another Mk4 Mondeo or a third generation Mondeo, depending on how you categorize your Mondeos. And it's another Titanium X. But this one's fitted with the 2.3 litre, 4-cylinder, 161 brake horsepower engine with the power shift gearbox. In fact, I believe that Ford only offered the 2.3 engine in the Mondeo with the automatic gearbox. You see, to me, well, this engine and gearbox option in the Mondeo is a bit of a throwback to Fords of old. Ford have always offered their large family cars in a luxury specification with a big engine and an automatic gearbox. You've got to go back to the Granada 2.8 or the 2.8 Ghia Sierra, or that 2.5 litre Mondeo. Okay, so they were all 6 cylinders and this is a 4-cylinder engine, but I really get a sense that that's what Ford were trying to do with this car. Whatever the case, this is a rare specification Mondeo, but is it a fast Mondeo? We will find out later in the video. And whilst I'm on the subject of this car, the engine, that 2.3 litre engine, is actually a Mazda engine, which is consistent really with all of the 4-cylinder engines in the early Mk4 Mondeos before the EcoBoosts came in. So a Mazda engine in this one, and as for this car, well, this has got a Volvo engine. Right, back to these fast Mondeos, these hot Mondeos. How many have you thought of? Well, to my reckoning, there are 9. Well, there are 8 really, because in my view, a fast Ford is always a petrol, but I know that's going to be controversial to some watching. What are they? Well, let's run through them, and we'll start with the Mk4 Mondeo, the one that started it all. The Mondeo Ghia 2.5 V6, and I particularly like this car in saloon. Then came the Mk2 ST24, which is cool, and the Mk2 ST200 V6 sold as a hatchback and an estate. And after that came the Mk3 ST220 V6, again sold as hatchback and estate. I should also mention the ST TDCi 155, but it's a diesel, so we're going to cross it off for the purposes of this video. The Mk4 Mondeo Titanium X 2.5 turbo 5-cylinder and the 2.3 litre 4-cylinder. Then followed the Mk4 Mondeo Titanium S 2 litre EcoBoost, that 240 PS car. And finally, the Mondeo ST Line X 2 litre turbo EcoBoost, again with 240 PS. And here comes their performance stats. Not bad. These are very capable cars. I told you they were hot Mondeos. And it's the 2 litre EcoBoost and the 2.5 turbo that, well, are the fastest. And the poor 2.3 Mk4, well, it's the slowest. Oh dear, I have brought a non-fast Ford Mondeo to a video celebrating fast Fords. Damn it. Let's see how it drives a little bit later in the video. Now, I've been fortunate to own a few of these fast Mondeos. Obviously, I've had a 2.5 turbo Mondeo. In fact, I've had 2, both this hatchback and I owned an estate. I've also had the ST220 in both hatchback and estate, and I've had the lovely ST200, which really did feel special in its imperial blue with those lovely blue dials and that ST200 gear knob. What a cool and very special car. So if I'm going to rate these fast Mondeos, well, firstly, I can draw my experience of owning the cars that I have. And as for the Mk1, the Mk2 ST24 and the later EcoBoost Mondeos, well, I'll have to go by what I've read about these cars and what I've seen about these cars. But before all of that, let's find out what this 2.3 Mondeo is like. Well, let's take this for a drive. Well, the first thing to say, and I know it immediately, having driven just a few hundred yards in this car, is that you could drive this Mondeo anywhere. It's comfortable, it's effortless, it's large. Yeah, it's really, really nice to drive. And well, let's talk about the power shift gearbox, because they get a fairly bad rep, the Ford power shift gearbox. And in this car, with this engine and gearbox blend, it feels really good. It's doing a good job. I think it's probably stifling a bit of the 161 horsepower from that 2.3 litre engine, but it just feels like a large luxury cruiser. We'll answer the question around a fast Mondeo in a minute, but really comfortable. And being a Titanium X, well, there's just loads of toys and gadgets and things to play with. What have I got here? I've got heated seats, I've got sat nav, I've got front and rear parking sensors, I've got all-round electric windows, I've got cruise control. I've got everything that I'd need for a long, comfortable, lazy journey in a Mondeo. Yeah, no surprises. It's a good car. I have noticed there's a few differences between this and the other Mondeo that I was parked next to just now, even though there's only a year apart. This car, first of all, has the uprated satellite navigation, which is a really nice option and actually changes the center console quite considerably, because you also get different climate controls. But yeah, nice option on this car. Also, even though they're only a year apart, this has a different key to the previous the 2008 car here. I'll put a picture of them on the screen right now. But it has the same seats, same steering wheel, same feel, just same all-round loveliness. But what about the kickdown? Let's try it. Here we go. Is this a fast Mondeo? Okay, there was a bit of a kickdown there. I'm going to change the subject. Look at this lovely autumnal road that I'm driving on. It really is a very, very pretty road to drive. I tell you what, let's park up and let's decide whether this is indeed a fast Ford Mondeo, and let's rate those cars. This is a blooming lovely drive. Well, of course it is. It's a Mk4 Mondeo. They were all fantastic to drive. In fact, all Mondeos are fantastic to drive. The Mondeo, well, it's timeless, and I challenge anyone to jump into Ford's first world car, the Mondeo, take it for a drive and not enjoy it. The Mondeo really is all the car that anyone ever needs. It's such a shame that they don't make it anymore. I'm really, really going to miss it. As for this 2.3 petrol Mondeo, is it a fast Ford? Is it a hot Mondeo? Well, no, it's not. This is a lukewarm Mondeo, and to be honest, I'm still scratching my head a little bit as to why Ford decided to make it, but I'm kind of glad they did. And I'm glad to have owned this car and to put it into my car history. I'm pleased to have owned a 2.3 Mondeo Mk4. I say owned and I say history because, well, I've sold this car and the buyer is actually collecting it this evening. So I better wrap this video up. So let's get back to those hot Mondeos. As I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to rate them. Which is my favourite and which is my least favourite? And let's start there. And whilst it is the joint fastest and the most modern, my least favourite of all of the hot Mondeos is the most recent Mondeo ST X 2-litre turbo EcoBoost. Great car, but it's just missing some of the character of the Mondeos that have gone before. And fast Fords, well, they're as much about looks and feel as they are about performance. And this is applicable to the next Mondeo that comes on my chart, the Mondeo Titanium S 2-litre EcoBoost. And next on my list, well, it's going to be a bit of a surprise and probably prove controversial. I've actually had two of these and I really like the estate car. But next on my list is the Mondeo ST220. These drive great and they look special and they have some nice touches like the wheels and the Recaro seats, but I've never really found them, well, that quick. Sure, they're effortless to drive, but they feel more luxury than sports saloon. This in itself isn't an issue, but the ST220 has always promised lots, and to me, well, it's under-delivered a little. I have struggled to really gel with the ST220 each time I've owned one, and I've owned three. Are you all still with me? I'm guessing that as the ST220 has dropped out of the ranks early, some of you may have stopped this video and gone to do something better. But for those who are still here, next comes the wonderful Mondeo ST24. Now, I've never had one of these, but I think they are so cool with the body kit, those 4-spoke wheels and those half leather seats. Plus, these are getting a real rarity nowadays. So well done to anyone watching who owns an ST24 and is keeping them going. I really enjoy seeing them at car shows. Right, into my top three then. And third place goes to the absolutely brilliant 5-cylinder Mondeo 2.5 turbo. That engine is excellent. The car is quick and it's a real luxury Mondeo. Look, watch my full video on that car for more details. It is brilliant. Okay, on to second place, and it was really tough to choose between these two, but I've given second place to the outstanding Mondeo ST200. God, this is a stunning car and a true special edition Ford Mondeo with the performance to boot, and the only car, I believe, that Clarkson, Hammond and May all agree as being brilliant.
So we've established there are many cars we all don't like, but cars we do like...
There's this.
There's this.
I really miss my ST200. First place then? Well, I suppose it had to go to the one that started it all and one of the slower fast Mondeos, but the very rare and very special Mk4 Ford Mondeo 2.5 6-cylinder. I mean, just look at it. Look, I know, and I've already said it's one of the slowest of the lot, but you need to remember I'm a big Ford XR fan, and everyone knows that the XRs, well, they're not the quickest, but they are fast Fords, and so is the 24-valve 2.5 litre Mk4 Mondeo. This car wins for me because it was the first. It started it all. It's a lovely balance between modern and retro, and that 2.5 24-valve engine is smooth, powerful, and as I've already said, very rare. And it is the one that I'd most want to own today. I can't remember the last time that I saw one. Look, let me know what you think. Have I got this wrong? I'm certain that I will hear from all the diesel Mondeo lovers out there. And before you take to your keyboards, I love a diesel Mondeo as much as anyone else. In fact, I own a Mk4 TDCi 130 Mondeo. But I can't bring myself to include the diesels, all those EV hybrids into a conversation about fast Fords. Do let me know what you think. How would you rate the hot Mondeos? Let's light YouTube up about fast Mondeos because they really are brilliant. And actually, all Mondeos are brilliant. And from now on, the number of Mondeos on the road, well, it's going to reduce. And eventually, at some point in the future, as hard as it is to believe, just like the Sierra and the Cortina before, the Mondeo will be gone from our roads. And I, for one, am really sad about that. Look, I hope that you've enjoyed this short video on hot Mondeos and celebrating fast Mondeos. If you've liked it, click like. Do subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And as I've said, get in contact with the comments below because I will write back to you. And well, I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks and bye for now. Bye-bye.